Welcome to Wild Koala Day at Koala Gardens. We're going to have a bit of a virtual tour today, and this is one of two videos that I'm releasing today. So stay tuned for the next video, which is going to be some exciting drone video. Today I'm going to take you for a little bit of a walk around. We're going to look at koala trees, how to tell when koalas are around, and my fabulous guest, Wendy Bithell from Vision Walk Eco Tours, is going to interview me a little bit later on. We're looking at a forest red gum at the moment, and we're looking for koala sign. There it is. Look at those claw scratch marks on the tree. It's the first thing we look for, and the second thing we look for are these lovely little scats that we find under a tree. They're very light, they're small, they're quite clean, they're really just mashed up eucalyptus, and those scats happen to be from Bullet. Before the COVID lockdown, Wendy used to bring tours to the property and take them around looking at the koalas and talking about koala habitat. But of course, she can't run tours at the moment, but she is running virtual tours on YouTube. So you'll want to pop over and check her channel out as well. She's got a Wild Koala Day video going up, which she made here with me today, and I interview her. So let's go meet Wendy and see what she's going to ask me about.
G'day.
Hey Wendy, welcome to Wild Koala Day.
Hey! Thanks, Katrina. So what is Wild Koala Day?
Wild Koala Day started 4 years ago by a concerned group of conservationists, and I was one of those that was in at the beginning of it to celebrate koalas and give people an opportunity to really think about what's going on with the environment. The lead person was Janine Duffy, who is the president of the Koala Clancy organisation, and May 3 is Clancy's birthday, and that's where the date came from. But amazingly, May 3 is also the anniversary of the date that I held my husband's memorial service. So it kind of, for me, really blended together that date has turned into a celebration day.
Oh, that's fantastic. How long have you lived here?
On May 7, so only 4 days away, I will have been here for 10 years.
What is koala habitat?
That's a great question, because a lot of people think that any gum tree is koala habitat. But koala habitat is a specific set of gum trees, and it actually changes a little bit as you go up to the north of Queensland and then right down to Victoria. So koala habitat is made up of eucalyptus trees, but in this area, when we talk about prime koala habitat, we're talking about trees called the forest red gum, the tallowood, and the swamp mahogany.
Why are koalas in trouble?
Koalas have had a really tough go of it for the last 250 years. Before then, they were in their millions and they were just everywhere, and they were, I always like to think they're the caretakers of the eucalyptus forest, because they would have prevented the eucalypts probably becoming a fire hazard. If you think about millions of koalas up there in the treetops thinning the leaves out, it's an amazing thing. So when white man invaded Australia, one of the first things they did was thought, wow, look at those little furry things up in the trees. And somehow they realised that those pelts of the koala, the fur that covers them, is the most insulating and the most waterproof skin of an animal they'd known anywhere in the world. So they began killing them in their millions. That was the first death knell that started for the koalas. Then the logging started and their habitat started to be destroyed, and when you add the losses of millions to the loss of their habitat, koalas now just don't have enough of them and they don't have enough place to live.
How has the drought and the fires from 2019 affected this area?
It's a really good question, because wildfire didn't actually come through the property here. The drought has had a really devastating impact, not just on my property, but on this whole area and on the koala habitat. So what happened was the drought went on for so long that the way the eucalypts cope is they throw their leaf to try and conserve moisture, which means the koalas had even less to eat while they were trying to cope with the dry conditions. Then we had the smoke from the fires that went on for months and months, and that is going to have had an impact on the koala health, because a lot of people found that had an impact on their health. And then we had that huge deluge of rain for weeks and weeks. What that's done is, what I'm finding is I'm battling a lot more weed on the property now than I ever have, because the drought had denuded the landscape so much, and then such torrential rain. Of course, weeds tend to be the first thing that picks up. So the koala habitat has suffered a lot. Big mature trees were dying. I had trees dying on the property, and we're struggling. We're going to struggle probably for a year or two as things try to get back to normal, and that's providing climate change doesn't continue to make the struggle even harder next season.
What do koalas need to stand a chance?
Trees. Trees, 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 trees. You will hear me saying that all the time. There's lots of things we need to do for koalas, but at the end of the day, there's only one actual solution, and that is to give them their trees. And that's what I'm all about. Okay, let's go for a little walk and have a look for some of these 3 primary koala food trees together. You can see how much texture the bark of the tallow wood has as compared to the very smooth trunk of the forest red gum. You can also see that the leaf of the tallow wood is quite small as you look at it against my hand. The trees will become very densely leafed, but the individual leaves are quite small. So it'll be really obvious now as we look at some forest red gum leaves beside my hand, and you'll see that they are significantly larger than the tallow wood were. And now the relatively smooth bark on the forest red gum. The forest red gum actually sheds its bark each year, and you can see in the fork here that there's pieces of the shed bark, but when it's finished it leaves the trunk quite smooth until the following year. Beautiful grey colour to the trunk and the branches of the forest red gum trees. The leaf of the swamp mahogany is also quite large, but what I really love about them is they're so glossy and dark. The bark of the swamp mahogany is also really textured, but you can see that it's quite a different type of texture to that stringy sort of texture that we find on the tallow wood trees. So that's it for this video. Stay tuned later on today. I've got a drone coming to take us for another view across the property.